Hi, this video lecture covers learning objectives 3 and 4 in chapter 8. So the learning objective 3 talks about describe and apply different approaches to pricing. So pricing is a very important decision every company has to deal with. So the regular pricing considerations include first of all, what is our target profit? If you have a very high profit, normally you will have actually high price as well. And how much will customers pay? Because it doesn't mean that you can charge a customer, whatever price for a certain product. So sometimes you have to figure out if the customers can afford the products. And the last one is, are we a price taker or price setter for this product? So you may ask me, hey, what is price taker, price setter? Well, you can take a look at next slide, which is right here. And for the price takers, basically, product lacks uniqueness and heavy competition, and the pricing approach emphasizes target costing. So, for example, if you say, in the restaurant industry, you want to buy hamburger, a lot of restaurants can sell hamburgers, and they make hamburgers. Sometimes hamburgers may taste slightly differently, but overall, it's very similar. And the profit margin is very small, heavy competition, and sometimes you just cannot ask for too much. Okay, you practically a price taker. Okay, and price setters, and basically the product is very unique, and very less competition, and sometimes you can actually emphasize cost plus pricing. So for example, the pharmaceutical companies, some companies they have patentized one product, a drug, and that drug is dedicated for treating cancer patients. So from certain perspective, you can see that that particular drug is very unique, and no any other companies actually can produce similar drugs or substitutes for that. So therefore, there will be nearly no competition, and most companies can definitely charge patients or maybe medical device providers, medical service providers, a little bit high price to get profit margin. So now in this slide, you probably see, well, there are two different pricing approaches. Seems to me, one is called a target costing, one is called a cost plus pricing. Perfect. So actually, that's going to be the focus of this learning objective 3. So the one pricing approach is called a target costing, and that's actually is associated with the price takers. So if you are a price taker, unfortunately, you have to use a target costing. And if you're a price setter, your life is relatively simple. You can do cost plus pricing. Okay, so let's take a look at target costing first. So what is a target costing and how to do that? Okay, how to do that. So basically, the target costing is when you have to first look at what is market price, and use market price to minus your desired profit. Then the result is target cost. The question becomes, can you actually control your target cost? That's a very big thing here. If you're not able to do that, you probably don't even want to bother get into this business. So let's say that you have a product you're gonna sell to the market, and because it's not very unique, a lot of competitors. So you have to look at the market price. Then let's assume that your shareholders, your investors, tell you, hey, you need to give me 10% of profit. Okay, if that's the case, you have to figure out, okay, what is desired profit. Then you use market price minus the desired profit from your shareholders or from your whatever reason. Then the result is target cost. Now when you come to the manufacturing, when you come to the merchandising, the question is, are you able to control your cost below that? Okay, so target cost includes many things. You can see that it includes the manufacturing and even operating expenses such as marketing, delivery, service, design, production, development costs. So many costs. Practically, we're looking at all the costs. So let's take a look at this very brief example here. Okay, very brief example here. So let's assume that basically you're a price taker. Okay, you're a price taker. So you have no choice. You have to take the price. The market price is $3 each, and you need to sell 250,000 units. So therefore you have 750,000 revenues. Okay, then the desired profit, let's assume that your shareholders tell you that, well, I want a return on asset 10%. Okay, very simple, 10% of return on asset. So therefore, if let's assume that you have 1 million assets, $1 million value assets, then your shareholders require you to bring company 10% of that as revenue. So which is 100,000. If you multiply 10% by 1 million, you get 100,000. So the target total cost is going to be market price or revenue minus desired profit. So the result is a target total cost is 650,000. 650,000. If you divide 650,000 by 250,000, you can also get the target unit cost. Okay, so feel free to do that. I'm not going to do that calculation. If you wonder what is target unit cost, you can divide 650,000 by 250,000 units. All right, so now you can see that definitely there can be at least two potential outcomes when using target costing. So, you know, your actual cost can be less than target total cost, or probably the opposite. Your actual cost can be greater than the total target total cost. So you can see that very likely going to make decisions, right? You know, if your actual cost less than target total cost. So you can think, okay, well, which means I'm able to control the cost below target total cost. So it's going to be actually yes. So we're going to definitely manufacture or maybe merchandise those products and make profits. If the actual cost is greater than target total cost, very likely you are going to say, well, probably wouldn't want to do this business unless there is a reason why you do that. But typically, if this is a business plan, you probably feel frustrated because it seems like you cannot really control the cost below that. So two solutions, according to this second outcome, either you find a way to improve your efficiency, effectiveness, to bring the actual cost down below target total cost, or you just give up. If there is no way, give up. Okay. So there are some other strategies. First of all, you can also try to do the best increase the sales. Do the best to increase the sales so that maybe you can achieve your target profit. Because when you have a lot of sales, let's also assume that there are some fixed costs, that don't change. So if that's the case, your increased sales actually can bring up your target profit. Okay, and also you can do some other things. For example, maybe you have some products with the high contribution margin, and if the products have lowest contribution margin, you can remove those items, just discontinue those items. Focus on the products with the high contribution margin. The last one is make it unique. So you tell people, hey, I'm not going to compete with you guys because you guys are so low. I'm going to make something so special. I'm going to do the branding, quality, service packs. For example, like Whole Foods. The Whole Foods, they focus on organic products. So they talk about the green, they talk about organic, they talk about all natural. All these things actually make them their products very unique. So the Whole Foods actually is quite successful. And the Amazon bought the Whole Foods. We know that, and now Amazon is going to use the Whole Foods branding to expand, its territory in the grocery industry. So we will see. I mean, in the next couple of years, we will see that how Amazon is going to do in the grocery industry. Okay. Well, if you are a price setter, which means there is no competition, and you are the boss in the market, you can do cost plus pricing. And this is the opposite of target pricing approach. So what you do is you don't care really market price, because probably there is no market price because the product is unique. Nobody can compete with you. So what will happen is you just look at your company's forecast, and then you're gonna add you can add the desired profit to determine the cost plus price. So first you have a total cost. Then second, you have a desired profit. Then whatever result, you're going to claim that's my price. So for example, in this case, let's assume that your current variable cost for 250,000 units is about $1.50. So first you can compute all the variable cost. Then you also have some fixed cost, which is the 325,000. Then the current total cost is going to be 700,000. Then let's assume that once again your desired profit is 10% of your assets. So you multiply 10% by 1 million, you get 100,000. Then the target revenue is 800,000. Then you divide 800,000 by 250,000, which is the number of units. So then you can figure out what is the cost plus price per unit. So the whole idea is I don't really care the market price. I just look at my manufacturing or maybe merchandising. I look at, okay, in order to sell 250 units, what is the value? What is the total cost? And you get a number. Then you look at, okay, what formula you're going to use to compute the desired profit. Here we look at the return on assets, but sometimes you may have a return on investment, or maybe you have the certain profit margin percentage requirement. So the idea is very similar. All you have to do is look at, okay, what is percentage? Second one is that assets or sales or investment? In this case, it's in assets. So we multiply 1 million of assets by 10% to figure out desired profit. When you add them, you get the target revenue. Okay, then when you get target revenue, from there you know what is the cost plus price. So if the current price is $3, can the company charge $3.20? Well, that's a pretty tricky question here, and the answer might be yes, because there is no competitor, right? And if you think, well, I want $3.20 to have 20 cents more extra profit margin per unit, maybe we can do that. But also be prepared. Maybe you will lose some, customers. Okay, customers. So keep that in mind. Whenever you raise the price, and your customers may not like that. All right. So now we can actually come to this summarization before we get into a question. Okay, I do love to show you that exercise. So the pricing decision is how to approach pricing. If a company is a price taker for the product, then you emphasize target costing. If a company is a price setter, then you emphasize cost plus pricing. Perfect. So now let's take a look at this question here. So the question talks about the construction industry. So basically, this company builds a 1,500 square foot starter tractor home in the fast-growing suburbs of Houston. Land and labor are cheap, and the competition among developers is fierce. Okay, so it's so from that information you can see, gosh, I mean, we're looking at probably price taker because competition is fierce. The homes are cookie cutter, so with any upgrades added by the buyer after the sale, the company cost per development sublot are as follows. So you have land 51,000, construction 121,000, landscaping 9,000, variable marketing cost 5,000. Then this company would like to earn a profit of 15% of the variable cost of each home sale. Similar homes offered by competing builders sell for 204,000 each. So the first question is, which approach to pricing should the Preston builders emphasize? Why? The second question is, will the builders be able to achieve its target profit levels? Show your competitions. And the third one is bathrooms and kitchens are typically the most important selling features of a home, and the Preston builders could differentiate the homes by upgrading bathrooms and kitchens. The upgrades would cost 20,000 per home, but it would enable the company to increase the selling prices by 35,000 per home. In general, kitchen and bathroom upgrades typically add at least 150% of their cost to the value of any home. If Preston builders upgrades, what will the new cost plus price per home be? Should the company differentiate its product in this manner? And show your analysis. So the answer to the first question is, well, apparently the company is price taker, no doubt, because competition is fierce, and the houses, okay, the homes actually lacks uniqueness, and there is a heavy competition. So I would say, the company is actually the price taker, so the company has to consider target costing. All right. The second question, we probably have to do some calculations. So first of all, we need to find the so what is the revenue, and what is desired profit, and also find out what is the target cost. Then compare that with the actual cost. So remember, if you go back to the prior slides, one of the very important, things we can use to make a decision is, first of all, you have target, your target actual cost. You have target cost, and also you have the actual cost. Which one is bigger, right? Then you can make a decision. So therefore, I'm going to pull out Excel this worksheet and tell you, our decision rule here. So if the target cost is bigger than actual cost, I would say yes, you should go with that. If target cost is less than actual cost, your answer will be no. Absolutely no. I'm not going to do this business, and I'm going to losing money, so I'm not going to do that. So in order to solve this question, we probably have to do some calculations. It's pretty minimum, so we should be good. So first of all, I need to look at what is revenue. Alright, so let me make those a little bit bigger here. So what is revenue? The revenue is pretty clear. I mean, you have no choice. You're a price taker. So, sucked up. So the price is, the revenue is 204,000 each. Pretty clear. Then you have to look at what is desired profit. What is my desired profit? Desired profit is actually pretty clear. It's 15% of the variable cost of each home sale. So 15%. So 15% multiplied by the variable cost of each home sales. So what is the variable cost of each home sale? Well, actually, it's in the table here from the land construction, landscaping, and variable marketing costs. So all we have to do is add all four numbers. Then that's the variable cost of each home sale. Then multiply that by 15%. So we can do that. So that's how you do the desired profit, and the answer is this much. The answer is 27,900. Then the next will be basically what is your target cost. The target cost is the revenue minus the desired profit. So the answer is $176,100. That's the target cost. So the next question, what is the actual cost, right? What is the actual cost? So the actual cost is, how to find the actual cost? Well, the actual cost is nothing but you add these four numbers again. It's 51,000 plus 121,000 plus 9,000 plus 5,000. So the total cost, that's the total cost actually are the ones you're going to use to make a home, variable cost. So it's about $186,000. So now you compare them. The target cost is less than actual cost. Absolutely no, because you're going to lose money if you do this business. So the answer is no, and because the target cost is less than actual cost, actual variable cost. So that's about question 2 here. So let's take a look at question 3. The question 3 says, okay, I'm going to do some upgrades. So hopefully the upgrades will make my houses different. So here's the thing. And so you can think about when they upgrade, they make some upgrades. The builders, did some upgrades. Definitely, that would make their homes very different, very different. So from that perspective, the cost plus actually should be applied. So maybe they should consider cost plus, because on the market, the buyers cannot find the homes with those features, with those upgrades. So very likely those buyers will are willing to pay high price. So therefore those builders can be price setters, so they can actually do the price, use cost plus. So that's what we can do here. And the question is then what might be the cost plus price here. So the question actually is relatively simple here now. First of all, we need to find the total cost and so on. Then add 15% of the variable cost to figure out the price. So the first I'm going to look at the total cost. So what is total cost? So the total cost will be we start from 51,000, then 121,000, then 9,000, then 5,000, then plus the cost of upgrades. So let me take a look at what is cost of upgrades. We're looking at 20,000. In order to complete the upgrades, each house will cost 20,000. So we add additional 20,000. So that's the total cost now. Okay, I think that should be the right number here. Okay. All right. So you get a total cost in question 3. So the next will be plus desired profit. What is desired profit? I would say 15%, right? 15% of desired profit, which is right here. Okay, and 15% of variable cost. So desired profit is 15% of the variable cost, which is the total cost right here. So we multiply 15% by $206,000. So the desired profit is 30,900. So now, because your price is setter, you can actually decide your price with a little bit more flexibility. So the cost plus price is nothing but you add total cost to desired profit. So the final answer is 236,900. So that's the cost plus price. That's the cost plus price. Okay, so I think that's basically about this exercise. I want to kind of summarize that. Basically, the question 1 or 2 tells you that how challenging for businesses, okay, how challenging for business if they don't differentiate the products from their competitors' ones. So if that's the case, and those your price takers, you have very limited profit margin, okay, and your target cost actually can be very tough on you. However, if you are able to find a way to make your products unique and differentiate your products, then you become a price setter. You can actually have a little bit more flexibility, and you can easily achieve your target profit with the cost plus price. All right, so that's about the learning objective 3, and feel free to review some of those slides about regarding this answer. So now let's get into the objective 4, decide whether to discontinue a product, department, or store. All right, so this is about decide we need to discontinue a product, department, or store. So there are many times that you may feel, okay, one of my products, or maybe one of my stores, or maybe one of my departments is not really profitable, causing a lot of troubles. So maybe I should discontinue that. So for instance, if we take a look at this particular case, that this company has 3 major products: oil filters, air cleaners. So it looks like the air cleaners, okay, that's losing money. And if you look at the operating income, and the oil filters is very profitable. However, air cleaners actually is losing money. So the question becomes, well, should I discontinue air cleaners or not? Well, the decision is never easy. The decision is never easy because you have to consider so many factors. So let's take a look at the methodology part. What can we use to decide? What can we use to make decision? What tools? What concepts we need to look at? So it's actually harder than what we think. So not because, okay, this department is losing money and we should certainly discontinue or maybe close that department. Okay. So the first question is, will the total fixed cost continue to exist even if the product line is discontinued? Okay, like back to the question, if I say I discontinue air cleaners, will the fixed costs associated with the air cleaners continue to exist or not? So that's my first question. Second question is, can any direct fixed costs of the product be avoided if the product line is discontinued? Okay, that's a very important question, because when the fixed cost and it exists or not, or can be avoided or not, definitely will play a role. And next one is we can use incremental analysis for discontinue product, making decisions. So we can take a look at all these issues, and probably they don't make a lot of sense to you right now. But eventually, when we come to a particular question, we will really see that. Okay, we will really see that. So now the decision rule becomes very clear. Okay, it becomes very clear. Once you consider, look at all these three things in the prior slide, what you can look at is basically if when you discontinue a product, department, or store, very likely going to lose revenues. Okay, so if lost revenues from discontinuing a product, department, or store exceed the cost saving, so you have a lost revenues. If lost revenues is are bigger than cost saving, then do not discontinue. Okay. However, if the cost savings exceed the lost revenue, okay, you see more cost. Okay, you see more cost, then you lose the revenues, then you discontinue. So that's a decision rule. Okay, so basically, if you the reason you want to do that is if you have more revenue loss than the cost you can save, that will give you a negative impact on your operating income in total. Okay, that's why you don't want to discontinue, because if you discontinue, you're gonna lose what? You're gonna lose revenues, lose operating income. Okay. However, if you can save a lot of costs and you lose a little bit of revenues, so the offset will tell you, okay, I'm still actually, I can increase my operating income, because whenever you have cost saving, practically you'll have increase in your operating income. When you have lost revenues, you have decrease in the operating income. So now they offset each other. So you look at, am I going to have a more cost saving, which will become my profit, or I will have a more lost revenues, which will hurt my operating income? Which one is bigger? Okay, which one is bigger? So that's how you decide whether I should continue or discontinue. So that's the main reason why this decision rule is so important, so useful. So now let's take a look at this particular question. The top managers of a family time movies are alarmed by their operating losses. They are considering dropping the DVD product line. The company accountants have prepared the following analysis to help make this decision. So that's what we have here. So there are only two products, Blu-ray discs and DVDs. Okay, then we have all their numbers, sales revenues and variable expenses, contribution margin, and manufacturing, marketing, and administrative and operating income. So we have a contribution margin income statement for each product line as well as company in total. Okay, that's fantastic. You can see that DVDs actually is losing money and Blu-ray disc is making money, and however the company in total is still losing money. So the company actually struggles. Should we discontinue maybe DVDs or something like that? Well, a very important thing here is total fixed costs will not change if the company stops selling DVDs. Okay, so basically, if I discontinue DVDs, the total fixed cost. So you probably can figure out what is total fixed cost. The total fixed cost is we are looking at a big number here, and manufacturing 138,000, and marketing administrative 72,000. These two numbers will not change, which means even you wipe out the sales revenue, variable expenses, 15,000 will stay. So that's actually the question we're looking at here. Okay. So the first question is prepare an incremental analysis, which I'm going to show you in a minute, to show whether this company should discontinue the DVD product line or discontinue DVDs at 28,000 to operating income, and I explain. Second one is assume that, okay, we change that. Company can avoid 29,000 of fixed expenses by discontinuing the DVD product line. Prepare an incremental analysis to show whether the company should stop selling DVDs. So finally, now assume that all of the fixed costs assigned to DVDs are direct fixed costs and it can be avoided if the company stops selling DVDs. However, marketing has concluded that the Blu-ray disc sales would be adversely affected by discontinued DVD line, while retailers want to buy both from the same supplier, then Blu-ray DVD production and sales would decline 10%. Then what should the company do? Okay, so it sounds pretty challenging. Okay, so there are so many questions being asked here, but that's very normal. Okay, in the business world, that's very typical. Alright, so let's take a look at the question 1. So what is incremental analysis? So basically, you just look at a business simulation. Let's assume that we're going to discontinue DVD. So how that will happen? So if we discontinue DVD, so you're going to see the following. First of all, you will see the expected decrease in revenues. Okay. And definitely you're not going to sell any DVD products. So you're going to lose all the sales of DVDs. Okay, and the question is how much is it? How much is it, right? So the number actually is in the prior slide. So you're going to lose 126,000 revenues. Okay, am I correct? Yes. So that's the first thing you're going to ask. Okay, so you're going to lose actually 126,000. Okay, 126,000. So when you discontinue DVD, sales, so you can also save some cost, which is true, right? Expect a decrease in the expenses. Okay. So now, what kind of expenses, will be saved? Cost saving. The question says, well, in the beginning, question assumes that all the fixed costs remain constant. So basically, you don't save any fixed costs, but you do have some variable costs saved because you don't manufacture DVDs. For example, you don't have to buy raw materials, you don't have to pay labor costs. So therefore, you do have some costs saved, but they are only variable cost, variable expenses. Okay, variable manufacturing actually. So why only variable manufacturing expenses? Well, if you look at the question very carefully, in the first line saying there here, and actually, sorry, in this slide there, actually the total variable cost is 80,000. Okay, so including manufacturing, maybe you have some marketing. I would say probably it's better to say just the variable expenses because sometimes it could be, it may include the marketing. So I would say I would be just put a variable expense here. Okay, so to be more accurate. Then you have 80,000. Okay, 80,000. Okay, so that's what's happening here. Okay, that's what's happening here. So next, I would argue that when you have expected decrease in revenues, okay, actually you lose money. Okay, you lose money. And when you have expected decrease in expenses, you save money, 80,000. So overall, you still lose money because decrease in revenues, okay, is bigger than actually cost saving. Okay. So if that happens, you probably know actually, well, if decreasing revenue is bigger than cost saving, which means, well, I'm losing money in this decision. Okay, in this decision, and by how much? Okay, by how much? So basically, you will see decrease in operating income, which is about 126,000 minus 80,000, which is 46,000. You're going to lose actually 46,000 in operating income. Okay, in operating income. Okay. So yes, you can have some cost saving, but you only save 80,000. You are hurt more because you lose 126,000 in revenues. And you could save 80,000 in expenses, but you lose more in revenues. So therefore, the overall effect is you actually lose 46,000 in operating income. So therefore, the decision is, okay, don't drop DVDs. Okay, don't drop DVDs. All right. So that's practically the first part. The first part. All right, so now let's take a look at the second part of the this problem. Okay, the second part says that let's assume that a company can avoid 29,000 of fixed expenses by discontinuing the DVD product, and then let's do that again. So if that happens, then you will see probably a different question here, a different result here. So how to do that? It's very similar to what you have just done here. Okay, so I'm going to first start with the expected decrease in revenues. Okay, and you do have the sales of DVDs, right? Okay, and we're looking at 126,000. Okay, for sure. However, if you go to the expected decrease in expenses, things changes. Okay, first of all, you do have some cost saving in variable expenses, and I'm pretty sure you know the number, which is 80,000, right? In the meantime, this time you have you know, avoided fixed, okay, expenses, which is 29,000. So this time you actually end up with saving more. Okay, saving more. Okay, now let's see how that will work. So this time we have a decrease in revenues, which means well, you have 126,000, and this number is still bigger than decrease in expenses, which is 109,000. That's the result of what? Adding 80,000 to 29,000. Okay, that's very interesting here, because even though you have some fixed expenses avoided, but still not big enough to offset your loss in revenues. So therefore, losing revenues. Okay, you're losing revenues. So finally, what we can conclude is, well, still it's no do. Okay, so don't drop DVDs, because you will see the decrease in operating income. Okay, in operating income, which is by this much. Okay, the decrease in operating income is going to be 126,000 minus 80,000 minus 20,000. So you actually still have a loss in operating income by 17,000. Okay, by 17,000. So that's pretty clear here that the second part is still, you know, we don't discontinue actually the DVDs. Okay, so that's what do I mean here. So and now let's go to the question 3. Okay, the question 3, part 3 here. So let's assume that all of the fixed costs assigned to DVDs are direct fixed costs and can be completely avoided if companies stop selling DVDs. However, marketing has concluded that the Blu-ray disc sales would be adversely affected by discontinuing DVD, okay, by 10%. So would the company do that? Okay, that sounds interesting question here. Okay, so let's take a look at all the conditions in the back to the question. I'm not going to write down all of them, but once again, the incremental analysis is quite similar. First of all, you look at what will be the expected decrease in revenue. Okay, in revenue. So first of all, what will happen is, well, first of all, you're going to lose sales, right? Sales of DVDs. And in the meantime, you also have the sales of Blu-ray loss. I mean, you're going to have some loss in the Blu-ray by 10%. So we're going to find all these numbers for sure. For DVD, it's still 126,000. Now for the Blu-ray, we're looking at how much? So we're looking at 10% of less. So if I go back to the question, I'm going to multiply 301,000 sales revenue for Blu-ray discs by 10%. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 10% by the 301,000. So that will be the total you know, decrease in revenues. So I'm going to add these two numbers, okay, to find out what is total decrease in revenue. Okay. So next, you're going to look at the expected decrease in expenses. Okay. All right. So it's kind of similar to what you have done, right? You know, and if you still remember what we did in the incremental analysis. So what's happening here is first we are going to have the variable, okay, the variable expenses associated with DVDs, right? And how much is it? And you can go back to the slide, and it's no calculations needed. It's just simply 80,000. Okay, so I'm not going to go back to the prior slide to find it, but you can easily find it. It's just no calculation right from the table in the question here. The next one is about the variable expenses associated with the Blu-ray. Okay. For the Blu-ray discs here, keep one thing in mind, we only actually, lose 10% of sales. So all you have to do is go back to the variable expenses, multiply that by 10%. So this requires a little bit of calculation here. So I'm going to get it, and you multiply 10% by 150,000, which you can also get that number from the prior table. Okay, so you multiply 10% by 155,000. Not you don't lose all the Blu-ray sales. You only lose 10%. Okay, so you get 15,500. And in the meantime, you have some avoided fixed expenses, right? Okay, and that number is pretty clear, and it's a little different, but it's pretty clear. It says all the fixed costs assigned to DVDs actually can be avoided. So which means I'm going to avoid the 59 and I'm going to avoid the 15,000. I'm going to avoid these two numbers. I'm going to avoid these two numbers. So pretty clear. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add 59,000 to 15,000. So you get a 74,000. So therefore you can also find all these total decreasing expenses. Okay, which is this much. All right, so now what's happening here is a decrease in revenue. Actually, it's a less than decrease in expenses. This is very different from 1 or 2. In 1 or 2, you always have decreasing revenue bigger than decreasing expense, but now you have decreasing revenue less than decreasing expense. So which means yes, you lose sales, but you end up with saving more costs. Which means that actually the effect is you're going to see the increase in your operating income. So therefore you will see the increase in operating income. And by how much? By this number, 169,500 minus 156,100. You will see the increase in operating income by 13,400. So the the decision will be yes. Okay, drop the DVDs. Drop the DVDs. Okay, so that concludes the learning objective 4. We will talk about other learning objectives in the next video. Thank you for watching.